Welcome back. I'm now joined by celebrated South African tennis champion John Laffnie to talk about the Federer Nadal charity match that's going to be played in Cape Town early next year. JL, as is popularly known in tennis circles around the world, is with us, and a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for the opportunity.
Much appreciated. I envy the fact that you are putting this exhibition tournament together. But, you know, it's not an easy thing to do, right? It's been a hard slog for you. Tell me a little bit about it and when is this taking place?
Yeah, Tim, it's been a long process. My partner and myself, Holger Losch, we started a company called No Boundaries, and we were involved both with tennis in different aspects. And one of the dreams was always, to bring one of the big names to South Africa. And knowing Roger, I actually met Roger, when he was 12 years old. In Basel, his mother was doing the accreditation, Lynette, and we went to get our accreditation for the tournament, and she saw my name. She's like, in Afrikaans, "Jy was van Suid-Afrika."
Yeah.
And we started talking. She said her son plays tennis, he's a keen tennis player, and who knew that he was going to be the greatest player ever. And playing against him, Roger was in some of the teams that I've coached, and constantly telling him, listen, come to South Africa, play an exhibition. And it's been a 4-year process. Roger's very much, when he wants to do something, he wants to do it properly. And his schedule was so full, and he needed to wait for the right date where things could happen. And we had 1 or 2 dates that we were playing around, couldn't happen, and then luckily, third time lucky, it happened. So it's going to take place on the 7th of February. It's going to be in the Cape Town Stadium. We're going to break the record for crowd attendance. Roger is playing against Rafa Nadal, who's his greatest rivalry. And all the funds that we raise is going to go to the Roger Federer Foundation. They do an unbelievable job, with helping kids. And hopefully the South Africans will pack the stadium, will break the record, raise a lot of money for the kids.
And of course, it's not just Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal that will be playing there. You managed to get Bill Gates as well.
Yeah, so Bill Gates has been involved with Roger with a lot of stuff that he's done, and he's played in some other of these Match for Africa. But it's a little exhibition beforehand, where Roger and Bill will play against Rafa, and we've still got to confirm the fourth person. I mean, Trevor Noah is the name that's been thrown around. From a South African perspective, it will be awesome to have Trevor. He's making a big name for himself in the US, and that's a fun 20-minute hit and giggle. They will be mic'd up. I'm sure if Trevor's around, there'll be a lot of jokes flying around, and after that the match will start. So I'm looking forward to it. Well,
just to recap very briefly on this, what is the point of it? I mean, it's not just an end in itself, that there's an exhibition match and that's all. It's a fundraising exercise, this. The funds will be going to what, South African-based charities? Or
Roger. So Roger raises money. Roger's got a very interesting, how they raise money. They don't go to companies. So he has his sponsors. That helps, and then basically they do these events around the world where they raise money, and so all the money that is raised with this event will stay in the region with these projects that he's linked to and that he runs in the region. So they do amazing. They're one of the best charities around there that help with early childhood development, and they do a great job. So Roger is a special person. And I mean, this thing has just grown so much. And I really hope with this event, the money that we raise can give them the opportunity, to add another, couple of, 100,000 kids that they can help.
But you're not just a bystander here or somebody who's merely an organizer. I mean, you play mean tennis yourself and have been doing so for many, many years, representing South Africa in the Davis, as a member of the Davis team, the Davis tournaments, as well as the doubles, reaching Wimbledon. A long story short. Tell me about your tennis career.
Well, my tennis career, actually my life started, is very interesting. When I was born, my heart stopped, and the doctors had to give me a shock injection to get my heart going. Instead of giving the injection in my thigh, I got the injection in my butt. They hit the nerve going down my right leg, and they damaged the nerve, so I only have 10% use of my nerve in my right leg. The doctor said 12% chance of walking properly, and the first 3 years of my life I was in a cast, and since birth until today I have no movement in my right leg. I can't move my toes.
Even up to now?
No, I can't lift my leg.
But that's a dramatic story before I even talk about tennis itself. I mean, that must have come as a shock to your parents at that time. And as a young person, a young child growing up, I mean, this whole complication, how did it affect your life?
I always say, that's the greatest thing that I received from God, is that my disability, because my disability molded me in the person who I am today, and the fact that I want to help people and I want to change lives and, you know, challenges. If you want me to do something, just tell me I can't do it, because my leg, I had a disability my whole life, so I always had to overcome these challenges. And, you know, as a young boy living on a farm, doctors said I was not allowed to walk barefoot. My dad said, shoes out, you're going to walk barefoot. And all these stuff really helped me with my flexibility. And I never really knew that I had a disability. They didn't treat me as a kid with a disability. I'm actually interesting. I'm busy writing a book, and now I'm trying to get, you know, opinions from my friends. You know, and I called a friend of mine that's, you know, we've been friends for 46 years because our birthdays are like a few days apart. And I said, tell me, how did you experience me with my leg? And he's like, what leg? So that's a great thing about my parents. Never treated me like there was something wrong with you. I was normal. And played all sports, played rugby, played cricket, you know, obviously tennis, and all that stuff that I did helped me, you know, to develop the flexibility in my leg. And then, yeah, at the age of, 14, well, actually 12, I went to America and played in the Orange Bowl. And then Port Washington tournament was the first big international tournament that I won.
Tennis tournament.
Tennis tournament.
By then you already had decided that tennis is going to be your main sport.
No, it was not. Tennis was my third sport. Rugby, I'm a rugby nut. I'm the guy that sits at 3 o'clock in the morning in America on my phone and watches Griquas and the Pumas play. I mean, I love rugby.
Yeah.
And so tennis was my third sport. And winning this tournament at the age of 12, on this the trophy was a big crystal bowl with a wooden stand. And on this stand, McEnroe, Connors, Edberg, all the big names in tennis that growing up, their name was on there. And now my name was on it. And then I thought to myself, yes, maybe I must be a little bit more serious about tennis. Because at school, I would do all the sports. And like 3 weeks before the holidays, I'll practice tennis. And then during 4 weeks holiday, I'll go play tennis tournaments, come back, pack my rackets away, and do all the other stuff.
Do something else, yeah.
So without knowing it, I mean, doing all the other sports really helped me to develop, and that's very key. You know, a lot of times kids just focus on one sport. My dad believed to do everything. And then I was missing a lot of school. Instead, in my grade 8 year, I missed 21 weeks of school. Grade 9, I missed 24 weeks of school. And then we decided, you know, my dad decided that, you know, I actually decided I wanted to play tennis. But going to school, I missed so much school. It's tough every time I come back. And I wanted to do, you know, homeschooling. And we decided, my dad said, fine, you can do 2 subjects a year, but stay in school. But you do these 2 subjects, you know, and hopefully, you know, you'll get your matric.
Hopefully you'll get there one day.
Yes, yeah. And then we had to ask for permission from the inspector of education, because the year that you turned 16, the rule was you have to finish that year. And my birthday is the 17th of March. So we had to go and ask permission. So we went into the meeting with the idea, I'm going to do just 2 subjects a year. And on the way to the meeting, my dad said, why don't you just do 6 subjects this year? And I'm like, oh, it's going to be tough. And he's like, well, maybe you pass 3 subjects, then you have 1 bonus. The plan was 2. And next year, you know all the work. So we went into the meeting, and I spoke to him, and he said, you know, he'll give me permission. He said, but we need to take a teacher with me. And my dad said, no, you know, it's going to be too expensive. And he said, but what do you want to do? And I said, no, I'm going to do all 6 subjects in this year. And I'll never forget it. He said, my son, that's not possible.
And you were in grade
I was grade 8. I was now grade 9.
Grade 9, and we're taking 6 subjects for grade 12, is it?
Yes, so I basically skipped 10 and 11 and was doing 12. And that's all I needed when he said you won't be able to do it, because my leg was the challenge. I literally got up and I said, sir, I'm gonna take you a bet. I'm gonna get that. That's all I needed.
And then
6 months,
everything.
6 months later, I mean, I left school the 17th of March, and the 31st of October, I wrote my grade 12. And the interesting,
passed all the subjects.
All my subjects. And the interesting thing is, 4 of those 6 months, I was traveling overseas. But that taught me so much discipline, because I knew if I passed my subjects, I'm going to be 2 years ahead of my friends.
Now, coming back to tennis, that's remarkable again. I mean, to do all 1 grade in 3 years is, the 3-year grades in 1 year is very remarkable in itself. And then went on to represent South Africa at a top level. Very briefly, tell me.
Yeah, so I was at the age of 19. I qualified for Wimbledon in singles. That was my first big thing in singles. And then 6 months later at the Australian Open, I went over my ankle in the first round, my bad leg. Ripped the ligaments, I actually carried on playing. We ended up making the semi-finals, and I became the youngest South African to be in a Grand Slam semi-finals. When I got home, you know, the doctor that's looked after me my whole career, Dr. Federer, said, listen, if you play singles and doubles, your back's not going to last. So you have to make a decision. Making the semi-finals, suddenly my ranking went up to 65 in the world. I was going to get into all the big tournaments, and I made a decision that I was only going to focus on doubles. And was very fortunate, you know, made 2 Grand Slam, finals, 5 semi-finals, became 4th at the Olympics. Had a great career just playing doubles, traveling the world, and yeah, I was very fortunate. But again, a lot of people say if you didn't have the problem with your leg, you might have made it in singles.
And then the transition from playing tennis and becoming one of the top coaches in the world, how did that happen?
I've always had the passion because of my dad. My dad was somebody that always helped people.
Very influential. I hear you mention your dad many a times.
Yeah,
He must be a great hero of yours.
Yeah, my dad, I mean, he's a special guy, and he taught me a lot.
One day I should interview your dad.
Yeah, it'll be great, man. He'll love it. He's a passionate guy, and always wanted to help people. And when I was still playing, when I would come back, I was only spending 10 weeks of the year in South Africa. I would get in my car and drive and just do clinics. I would go Kroonstad, Bloemfontein, Pofadder, EE, and just do clinics. But then I realized that, when I do this, it takes a year before something else happens. And when I stopped playing tennis, coaching was the next phase that I wanted to go in. I was very fortunate. A year after I stopped, I became Davis Cup captain for South Africa, started helping the Davis Cup guys, and then started coaching some of the singles, the doubles guys on the tour, had success with them. And, so in the last 5-6 years, I've been coaching on the women's tour. So it was very interesting coaching men and then coaching women. But during this time, team sports always been my favorite thing. So Davis Cup, I became...
Now, JL, I know you've got a big story to tell. As I say, and I make a promise, you and your dad, I would like to talk to you both at the same time, right, for an extended time. But something you're very passionate about, the Handshake channel. Briefly, challenge, I beg your pardon, tell me about it before we end the show.
So the Handshake Challenge is basically, I believe sport's the greatest tool to teach people about life. So in life, when I meet you, I shake your hand, we have the meeting, afterwards we shake hands. In sport, we run onto the field, we play, and afterwards we shake hands. And I'm like, we've got to do it beforehand. I shake your hand because I respect you. I want to challenge you to play at your best, and let's play tough and hard, but within the rules of our sport. Shaking hands, I show respect. It creates unity. I believe that's very important in South Africa. And we're shaking hands now to create awareness for vulnerable children around the world. And it's great. All Netball South Africa, Tennis South Africa, all the Currie Cup teams are doing it. So now my next step is to get the national teams to do it, because this must become a South African tradition and show the world this is what South Africans are all about. And it's really taking on. We're trying to get it into all the schools and then all the big leagues. It's now the US, in the International Tennis Federation has embraced it. And then the World Team Tennis has embraced it as well, where I've coached now for 13 years. They're the first US league that's embraced it. So,
well, let's show how it works. So this is what you mean, right?
There we go.
The Handshake Challenge.
Before and afterwards.
Before and afterwards. And the JL Dijaka, good luck with the exhibition match. And of course, I wanted more detail about tickets and that kind of thing.
Yes.
So you say the 7th of Feb, right?
7th of Feb, and there will be an announcement about tickets when the tickets go on sale.
Sure. And I appreciated talking to you. I'm very keen to meet your dad.
Thanks, Tim. I'll let him know.
Will you let him know?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm looking forward to having him on the show.
Thank you very much.
Much appreciated. There's a lot to talk about.
Thank you.
And that's all we have for you. Thank you for joining the Modise Network. A very inspiring story that we just had from JL Dijaka there. Be sure to tune in again next week. And from us, goodbye.